Hello and welcome to another episode of the CyberSec Migrant podcast. My name is Femi. I'm your host. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking to another person who I like to say she's a fantastic person, but I'll let you be the judge of that and I'll let her toot her horn. Today, my guest is Akansha Shukla. Akansha is a top cybersecurity expert. She originally is from India, but at the moment, Akansha lives, works, and practices cybersecurity in the beautiful country of the Netherlands. She's based just outside of Amsterdam. And I want to say, Akansha, welcome to this episode of the CyberSec Migrant.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for a beautiful introduction.
You're very
It's
welcome, but I don't think I did it enough justice. So I'm going to dive right into it. Akansha is not a European name. I know you're originally from India. So how did you get from India to Amsterdam?
it was never easy. Like I shouldn't say that it was. It was easy, and I was so blessed to be like. And you can imagine that India being girl, so it was difficult, and it was like a roller coaster journey. I'm mechanical engineer, so you can imagine the path I took from being mechanical engineer towards cybersecurity. I was interested since my college days towards security. Like, what is cybersecurity? I was very curious to know, but I was never into coding. So I don't
Yeah.
like to code and sit just for hours, like just writing the code, all those things. But yeah, I was that kind of person during my college days who was like, who can identify the flaws.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is something I can enhance about myself. And then I got placed from college to TCS. I started my journey from India in
Okay. Okay.
2015,
Yeah.
2014 end almost. And there I I was .NET developer basically.
Okay.
And
Cool.
then
Cool.
yeah, so you can imagine the hard work which I did from being, because I
Don't
was
tell me.
not at all aware of coding. But yeah, I learned .NET. Then I asked like my mentors and my supervisors that I want to work in cybersecurity domain. So they asked me like, what do you know about cybersecurity? And it was like, to be honest, I
Nothing.
like very transparent. Yeah, I said the same thing. I know something called phishing, something called hacking, but I don't know
But
what
that's
it
it.
is. Yeah. So one of my mentor, he suggested
Mm.
me to do a certified ethical hacking course. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
started my journey with that. Like I did like really 3 to 4 months, like really learning about what it is. And it was code technical, towards the technical aspect. So I got to know what is what are all domains, what is pen testing, how to do that, like what are the steps, like all those things I got to know. Then yeah, then journey started. Then I was mainly in testing sites. I did vulnerability assessment and pen testing within the organization. Then I moved to integration of code security scanning
Okay.
tools within the pipeline. So I played around with Jenkins, Bitbucket, IntelliJ, Fortify, Snake, all those tools. Then I moved towards threat modeling. So I learned
Okay.
many tools in that area with like manual approach, automated automation tools. Like I also used a couple of tools for threat modeling. Then I came into consultancy, like not like
Yeah.
very technical job. So there, like a true journey, I should say, started. And still I was in India. It was almost 5 years of experience at that time. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
I was working with one of the client through vendor. So I was in India, but my client was in Netherlands.
Okay.
And I would thank to my mentor because they really supported me, and they thought that yes, I have those kind of capabilities and I could do better. So yeah, they helped me to get me here. So I got a chance to work with directly with clients. So I came to Netherlands. It was not easy to adjust here because
Tell me about it.
it was totally different, like culture, food, weather, way of living, like 10
Everything.
does things, everything. And I'm like very family kind of person, so it was also
Yeah.
hard for me to
Yeah.
come like way far from my family and all those things. And yeah, for my parents also it was difficult, because they were like, oh my god, how she is going to manage all those things. So you
Parents
understand.
always worry. They
Exactly.
always
It is
worry.
not that kind of place where you are allowed to do whatever you want to. You are
Yeah.
definitely, you get some kind of freedom, but you need
Yeah.
your parents to be onboarded in the same boat.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I
yeah,
know the feeling. Nigeria is the
yeah,
same way. Nigeria is the same.
yeah. So yeah, and then here I started doing mainly like advisory role, like
Okay.
consultancy,
Okay.
giving
Okay.
solutions, compliance, governance. So being a pen tester to risk management, you can see the diversity which I
Yes. Yes.
experienced. And currently I'm more focusing towards API security, so it's a topic which
Mm,
I'm owning and trying my best to
yeah.
make it more efficient and effective, and set up a like a kind of capability, and creating a roadmap for the like for the organization for which I'm working. So yeah, I think this was the journey. I hope
Yeah.
it
That's it.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a very elaborate journey. It's very. I think I can relate to that as well as somebody who originally. Now I live in Canada, but originally I lived in Nigeria. I have
yeah,
lived in a few other countries as well. Then eventually I did settle on in Canada, and people say, "Are you crazy? Why are you going to Canada? It's so cold there." I'm like, yes, it's
yeah,
cold, but hey, we'll survive. There are people there too, right? And we'll survive.
yeah,
So I totally
exactly.
understand what the journey is like, and it's never quite the same. The good thing I've always told people though is I've always said to people, especially trying to get back into the industry, because you're coming from a different country. Yes, the culture might be different,
Yeah,
people might be different, the food might be different, but the technology is the same. Cybersecurity in Canada is not different from cybersecurity in India, in the Netherlands, in Nigeria. Yes, the frameworks and the rules may be different, the way you apply it, but the basic principles remain the same. So as long as you
exactly.
know those basic principles, you can easily find a way back into the industry. And that's exactly what your journey has shown, that, you can move from India to myself, Canada, or to the
Definitely.
Netherlands and be fine. You know. Hey, CyberSec Migrant listeners, if you're enjoying the show, help us spread the word. Share the CyberSec Migrant podcast with your friends, your colleagues, and your network. It's the best way to help others discover our awesome content and to join the conversation. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and any other place where you get your podcast, so you never miss an episode. And do hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Your support helps us keep bringing you more valuable content, insights, and stories, and all these tips from the world of cybersecurity. And thank you for tuning in. And now, let's get back to today's episode. But you mentioned that you do a lot of work in advisory and consulting roles, particularly around application security, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And today,
exactly.
the cloud is everywhere. Everybody's all about the cloud and how the
Yeah.
various clouds talk to each other and all the API calls and all of that jazz. What's a day in your life like? What's a typical day for you like?
Yeah, it's like every day you can get some or the other question for which you don't know what is answer.
True. Every day is
It's
different.
like, yeah, exactly. It's like not every time you know the answer. Sometimes definitely you know, but many times you don't know the answer, right? So you also need to search, you also need to study, you also need to check the environment, the condition, all those things, like different aspects in like for which you are getting this question, right? So
Mm-hmm,
for me,
mm-hmm.
it's like being consultant, it is not easy because you are not like 100%, 100% ready all the time. Sometimes you
But you have
don't
to know
know, sometimes.
everything.
Exactly. You can't know everything at the same point of time. Like
Yeah.
it could be sometime. That's why we have like peer reviews and peer
Mm-hmm.
help kind of thing in place, right? So
Yeah.
consulting
Yeah.
is something if I can I'm not in a position to give advice because we have many senior people already
Yeah.
in like in the world or in the market all around. But yeah, but if I am allowed to give one piece of advice, I think you can focus on three things. First thing is like problem solving, like how critical or how ready you are at certain time, right? When
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
any kind of question or any kind of situation, how much you are ready to resolve it at the time. And you need not to resolve at the same point of time, but you need to understand the situation, understand the question,
Mm-hmm.
and take the
Mm-hmm.
best positive step, whatever you can.
Yeah.
Second thing, I think communication, to whom you need to communicate, right? So you need to understand, if it is a technical thing, yeah, definitely you need to go to a pen tester or someone who can help. If it is like something related to business aspects, right, then you need to go to leadership and your management, like senior management, they can help
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
third thing is like paying attention. So you need to pay
Yes.
attention to
Yes.
small things, like small things. Okay, this is the situation in which we are, and what kind of solution should I give? You need not to react
Yeah.
instantly, you need to
Yeah.
respond. So I think for me,
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
definitely try to keep my mind active, and these 3 points which I always try to consider, and then I try to, get into any kind of solution. I never try to solve problems like instantly. I first
Yeah. Yeah.
understand, then only I try to solve. And I think for me it's like I enjoy my life doing this job, to be honest, because every day some or the
Yeah.
other developer, they come up with different and very interesting questions, like you can't believe, like, okay, this could be the question as well. Oh my god, how you get into this situation? Then you have to give them some kind of solution, some kind of alternative, if the solution is beyond implementation, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is how I do my job.
I think that's so interesting. I think like you rightly pointed out one of those things you want to have to do, because I think it's like you said, if you have a problem and you try to solve it instantaneously, you'd
Yeah,
probably solve it wrong. So sit
exactly.
back, think,
Yeah,
what exactly are the challenges I'm facing? What do I need to do to solve this problem perfectly or as best
exactly.
as I can? And I think
True.
like we're talking about the CISM exam just before we came on, and
Yeah.
how the CISM exam will ask you what is the best
Yes.
situation, and there's three correct answers.
I think I still remember few questions when they asked best, most,
Exactly.
ultimate.
Yeah.
I think it's my language already. So I think,
Exactly.
and I think that is a better way or best way. Again, I'm using the word because it's like if you try to solve everything, that means
Hmm.
you are not good consultant, because consultants and being in this job is like giving
Yeah.
best advisory, giving, trying to
Exactly.
like giving
Exactly.
best solution, not solving the problem. It's
Yeah.
other party's job. So just take one step back, analyze the entire picture, think twice before giving any solution or reaching out to any conclusion.
That is correct. That is true. I want to spend some more time talking about API security because,
Yeah.
like we were saying earlier today, today we're talking about companies that were born in the cloud. They've never
Okay.
had
Hmm.
traditional, hardware on-prem or never had to deal,
Hmm.
everything has all been in
Yeah.
some cloud provider space. And most of today, most cloud providers are talking about through API calls and all of that. And we've
Yeah.
seen an increasing importance of API security, particularly in today's digital landscape.
Yeah.
So, what would you, putting on your consultant advisory hat, what would you say is the growing importance of API security and what should businesses be doing to focus on? What should they be focusing on to protect themselves in this current landscape?
Yeah, so I'm glad that API security is like getting a lot of attention at this moment.
Mm,
It's everywhere. Like it's been almost a decade when I think, if I'm not wrong, but yeah, APIs are being developed since ages, right? They
yeah,
are
true,
already in
true.
place since ages. Everybody is just continuously building, right? They are just
Yeah,
creating APIs. They are just okay. We need this functionality, that functionality, create it. Do you know what you are creating? So
yeah.
now at least I'm glad, and I appreciate that this topic is getting some priority because
Mm-hmm.
of the security, and because of the exposure, or I should say because of some kind of vulnerability loopholes we got to know about organizations in the market. Still we are far away from what should be, because we
Yeah,
have like thousands and thousands of APIs already in, like if I talk about one organization, we have so many APIs and we don't know how many APIs we have. So that is like a biggest question mark for everyone. And I think management leadership now, they are giving more focus. Okay, let's first try to understand and try to get the visibility of how many APIs do we have. Then I think I wrote, I'm not sure if you read my one of my article I wrote, that if you can't see, how can you secure, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You need to see what you have, then only you can apply
Yes.
the preventive or some other kind of measures, right? If
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
see, if you don't know what you are securing, right? So
Exactly.
first step, I would say that to secure something, you need to know what you have. Like visibility is the first, it should be the first criteria for anything. So API security, I think first step is like we need to know what we have,
Yeah. Yeah.
like inventory, discovery. These
Yeah.
should be the priority. And once you know, then you can definitely protect it, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
everybody's talking now, like we have many tools in place, and like they provide runtime scanning. They also provide like static, like repository scanning and all those
Yeah.
things to
Yeah.
get the
Yeah.
hard code password keys in the API. So yeah, it is in the market and now being prioritized.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next question, especially around
Okay.
APIs. You
Yeah.
mentioned there's so many tools now. What are your favorite tools to use when you're doing your work? When you're in your element, what are your most favorite tools?
I'm not going to market any of the tool.
Good one. Good one. They're not paying us to do that.
Yeah, but
But
many, like, to be honest, I'm not fan of tools because tools, they come and go, right?
exactly. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not fan of any technology or basically any yeah, this is my favorite tool. Not at all. It's like some or the same functionality they have. Like if I talk about, I'm not going to name any of the tool. I'm like conscious in my head.
Yeah. Yep. I totally get it.
Yeah, so if I talk about any of the code scanning tool, they do some or the same job. Like it's not different, like totally different, right? They just follow OAPs, top 10 for, like if I talk about DAST, so they follow top
Yeah.
10, they fetch the vulnerabilities, all those things, right? Some of the UI factor would be different. Maybe some tools they are integrating through like Azure board to get your story created,
Mhm.
make your life easy, like easier, those kind of things. But they do some like similar kind of job, right? So I'm not
Yeah.
big fan of tools. I'm fan of mindset.
Thank you.
So, if you talk about threat modeling, I don't rely on tools for
Yeah.
threat modeling specifically, because if you rely on tools, you don't think out of the way. And
Exactly.
threat analysis, for risk analysis, you need to think out of the way. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you are
True.
not,
True.
because threat modeling is something you are, creating pictures in your head before it happened, right?
Exactly. No tool can
It's
do
way
that.
before. Yeah, just and some of the tool, it will definitely give you results which already happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's why for you said threat modeling, so I just gave example of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, everything is now automation, so I'm not against automating things.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
is the best way to do it, integrating tools, making your job easy. But relying 100% on any of the tool, no,
Yeah.
it's not. It doesn't sound good to me. But
I
yeah,
completely agree. I totally agree. Because I also think that in what we in our industry with what we do, what's most important is your mindset and the way you critically think about things.
exactly,
Because like you said,
exactly.
tools come and go. Different tools can do the same thing in different ways. But if you have the right thing in your head, if you have the right mindset, it's
Absolutely.
easier to say, oh, well, this is what I want to actually achieve. And you
Yeah,
can make the tool do that, so
yeah,
whatever the tool is. So I like to be vendor agnostic as well. Don't particularly say one vendor over the other because
yeah.
they all come and go. Um, but again, let's just, still staying along that line of sort of
Mm-hmm.
threat modeling, and what you were talking
Yeah,
about, particularly with, modern security practices. Now we have things like shift left, and DevSecOps and all of that.
yeah. I was about to say that. Sorry for
No, go
interrupting.
on,
Like
go
I
on.
was I was about to say that when we talk about mindset and not relying on any of the tool, there comes the DevSecOps or shift left. Because shifting left is nothing, just creating a mindset within developers, because they are the people who are creating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who came up with the idea of any kind of functionality, any kind of application, right? So if
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
understand security, I think we are in at good place. Our application, our functionality is in the good hands. They know what is secure practice, right? If I give you like really layman example, if developers they understand that these are the security headers, using prepared
Mm-hmm.
statement to
Mm-hmm.
prevent SQL injection, if they understand, I think we are okay.
Exactly. You know.
We don't have to test later when we are
Yeah.
already ready with the application. Yes, dude, are we vulnerable to SQL injection? If they understand these things, right, they are
Yeah.
applying at the very first stage. If we did the threat modeling at design phase, when we just created, okay, we are going to have this username, this password in our application, it's just in a design phase, or maybe what are the components would be there, and we started at the same phase that okay, these are the components, what could go wrong, what could be the threat in this situation, are we using secure communication? So these are the questions we need to develop at the first stage, and we need to educate developers. Like there comes the awareness kind of thing and the best practices. So this is all about shift left, I think
Exactly.
it's just a mindset.
Yeah. Like we say these days, secure by design. You don't put security afterwards. You start security from
Afterwards,
the ground up. That makes it a bit
exactly,
more secure.
exactly.
Um, Now let's also do the same thing. Let's look forward, and
Okay.
right now, once upon a time it was, everything was traditional. Then we moved into the cloud, and then in the last 2 or 3 years, it's all been about the machines are coming to take over our jobs. AI is here, and Gen AI is going to do all the work and all of that.
Yeah.
What do you see is the next big challenge in cybersecurity? What do you think? From what you've seen,
I think it's just my opinion. I'm not sure
which is
if
fine.
yeah, it's just my opinion. So I'm not sure if people or maybe you agree with me. So that should be fine.
It's
But
totally
what I
fine.
feel, yeah, if we are going to rely on these kind of technology coming into picture, then we are creating more and more work for cybersecurity people. So it's just like you are, so yeah, it's like at the end we all are doing our job to secure data, right?
True.
It's the end goal is to secure data. Data could be anything, like your personal things, maybe financial things, whatever. So it's like the end goal is to secure data, that is a crucial point, right? And if we are completely relying on these technologies, maybe machine learning, AI, whatever
Yeah.
is like, so you are just handing over all your things to these technologies, these new things coming into market, and then sitting down and waiting what would happen. So
Next.
maybe
Yeah.
you are not aware at this moment. After 5 years, 10 years, I don't know, but definitely it is going to create a big loophole for cybersecurity, and it's like we don't know how to secure it, because everybody is using these students who are in college, they are using chat gpt to create the assignments, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
imagine the usage of these things. And before that, if I have to create one presentation, then I have to first load it down with some kind of documents, right? I have to give it sources, I have to give my own views in some kind of word format. So I am feeding it with some kind of data, then only it is giving me back, right? So what kind of
Exactly.
data you are feeding it?
Exactly.
Are you securing that data which is and somehow it is getting stored, right? You don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. It is
You
getting
don't know
stored somewhere.
what is happening with your data which you are feeding to these new technology, you new tools,
Yeah.
all these things,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I think it's just my opinion, I'm not sure, but for me, I think it's plus point for cyber, because we'll get more jobs. So why to
Exactly.
avoid?
Yeah. More jobs. Yeah. Nothing to be afraid of. And I completely agree with you as well, because I think that no matter how many, how many generative AI tools are out there, all of these things are based on some learning model.
Yeah.
Who owns that model? What data was it trained on? Were there any biases
Okay.
introduced in the training? You don't
Yeah.
know. So, and I think that's part of the problem. Is I was talking to one of my guests in the previous episode. I spoke with Mary about the future of generative AI. If you're interested in that episode, you can click the link up here. You can look at
Hmm.
that. It's interesting that there's so much happening, and there's little to no governance around the risks of AI, which is why I think the White House recently put out a white paper about that. Governments are beginning to look at that. I'm waiting to see what the EU will do about Gen AI, because I think when it comes to security policies and frameworks, they're one of the strongest. GDPR remains like a benchmark standard globally. So it's something that I'm looking to see what happens. But I think, like I was telling somebody, no, AI is not going to take our jobs. In fact, it's going to give us more jobs to do. So that's very
Exactly.
interesting to note. Now, let's just go back again, because I remember, like I said at the beginning, you're not originally from the Netherlands, but you're in the Netherlands now.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned this a bit briefly earlier, but,
Mhm.
how does the landscape of cybersecurity in India differ from
Mhm.
your experiences from, Netherlands, for what you've seen, both culturally, professionally? Are you afforded the same level of expertise and experience as if you were a man, for example? Do you see those biases in the workplace, or somebody say she's a girl, she can't do the job? Because I know that happens to some people, because I've had guests on this show, we've talked about that, and if anyone asked you and said, what advice would you give me if I want to do the same thing like you, what would you say?
So yeah, definitely it's a difference. I wouldn't say it's a huge difference,
Okay.
but yeah, working, and of course, when I was working in India, I had less experience. Like at that time, it was just 5 6 years. But in when I talk about working culture, definitely it's like work life balance is less prioritized. It's like more towards working full 9 hours maybe after that, because I worked for almost 12 hours during COVID. So you can
I know the
imagine.
feeling.
Yeah, so you can imagine, like, I am like, I love my work. I'm kind of workaholic. That's what my friends and parents say. They are like, oh my God, always like working, working. But yeah, in India, work life balance is less prioritized, definitely. And about cybersecurity, it's more towards technical job. It's
Yeah.
more towards pen testing. It's more towards scanning, vulnerabilities, assessment, testing, all those things. And when I came here, it's more towards like consulting. It's more towards prioritizing your, like, it's a combination of your soft skills plus your technical skills. It's not just a one way, right? When I was in India, maybe it's just my experience. I'm not sure about others, but when I was in India, soft skills were less prioritized. You get less opportunities to describe what you work.
Yeah.
Everybody know, like, they know what they are doing, but here I get more opportunity. What I do, what I like, I get more time, because it takes time when you have to explain your work. Like this time, I'm talking about my work, like, my day to day activity, my experience, my knowledge. These type of opportunities, these type of sessions, we like, it's a lacking behind there. I'm not sure. Maybe nowadays it's happening more, but I when I was working here, it was less.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second thing which I experienced is like being a girl, like being a female. It's always like in quotation mark that she's not that technical. She's more like.
Yep. I've had people say
So
that.
whether you are in India, whether you are in Canada or Europe or US, doesn't
It's the
matter.
same.
But
Yeah.
if you are a female, it's always like, she doesn't know how firewall works. Okay, uh, did she understand OSI model? I doubt. These kind of, I'm glad that in my organization, at least, I never faced these things, and
That's good.
I
That's
always
good.
got motivation, and I appreciate the Dutch culture, which is like more towards work life balance. People
Hmm.
give your life more to your life, like more priority than your work. Definitely work is important, but if you are not like not feeling well, you need some time, uh, then yeah, it is like, what should I say, like, more and more you are free, basically, than
Yeah.
you are under some kind of pressure. So that
Yeah.
was the best, or like a different experience I had when I joined here. And coming back to cybersecurity topic, as I mentioned, like here it's like a combination of both like soft skills and technical skills. So it is like, if you have both, it's like a plus point for you. You are technical, plus you can explain, right? If you can
Yeah.
explain the threat modeling, that is the best thing, and you get to get that kind of platforms, that kind of availability where you can express, where you can explain. That is little bit lacking in India. So yeah.
That's good. I think it's the same thing with most third world countries as well, because it's the same thing in Nigeria as well. It can be a
Yeah,
bit challenging, but it's getting better, and we're thankful that
it's
that's
getting
beginning
it
to
better.
happen.
Yeah,
It's getting better,
definitely.
so we're happy to see that. Okay, let's do some quick fire rounds. So
Okay.
I'm very sure, because I do that as well as a consultant. Sometimes there's so many
Mhm.
projects you're working on at the same time, you know, and
Yeah.
you have to make sure that productivity still remains high. What's your hack for making sure productivity remains high when you're juggling multiple projects?
Okay.
Do you
Depending
go to
on
ride
what
your
is,
bike? The Dutch like to ride bikes, so yeah,
I do. I
yeah.
like to, like, although it's like very different weather, but now I'm used to in Netherlands, and
Mm-hmm.
I love to bike. But yeah,
Me too.
when there are like multiple projects, so I like I take some time for me to relax, and then think about which one to
That
pick
is so
first,
good.
depending on the priority. And I
Yeah.
believe in quality of the work rather than quantity. I don't want to finish all the 10 jobs in one day, rather than like not doing it in a proper way. I'll do two jobs, like two instances, like two projects in 1 or 2 days, but it should be like 100% uh, like with all the like I'll check all the criterias and all those things. So it should be like 100% good. uh, like, I shouldn't say best, but yeah, it would be good to pick two rather than doing 10 in one day and not giving your best. So that is
So
a that yeah,
prioritize, and decide
exactly,
what is most
exactly,
important to do that. I completely
exactly.
agree with you. We have a saying where I come from that if you are chasing three, how hunter goes to the farm to the bushes trying to hunt and trying to chase three animals at the same time, you will end up catching
Yeah.
none of them. So
Yeah,
chase one at a time.
exactly,
That's what we say.
exactly. Yeah.
Another thing, what's your favorite way to unwind? After a long, hard day, so much work, what's your favorite thing to unwind?
Go for a long walk.
Those are so good. Those are very good. I agree.
Yeah. Or sometimes I go for late night, not late night, like evening yoga. But after
Oh,
that, I feel so energetic that I have to do something else to get good sleep. That is the drawback of going to yoga practice at the evening. I wouldn't recommend to those people who, some
okay.
people, they feel like sleepy after doing yoga. I'm not
Yeah.
like, I'm not one of those. I feel really energetic, so I try to go on yoga, like to yoga classes, or do on my own in the morning. And I'm like morning person, so like I'm trying to wake up at 5, which is difficult.
Tell
It's
me
it's
about it.
like it's like my like year end goal that I'm trying to wake up by 5. Still like 1.5 or 2 hours to go to manage these things. I do yoga a lot. So when I feel exhausted with my work, I do evening yoga. And if I feel energetic, I write something or read. And then definitely, if you read at least 5 to 10 pages, you will feel
You fall
like
asleep.
sleepy. Yeah, exactly.
That is true. That is true. I
Yeah.
recently did another episode talking with Artigadia. We talked about mindfulness and mental health. And she actually
Mhm.
mentioned it also that she loves to do yoga. She has a standard every day she goes to a yoga class. You can catch all of that episode if you click the card up here. It was
Mhm.
just an episode because I think if we don't, in our industry, it's so fast paced, we don't talk about, mental health a
Yeah.
lot. So it's important
Yeah.
for us, to find that place to ground yourself, because no matter what happens, the
Exactly.
work will be there, but you have to make sure that you're mentally healthy as well. Okay,
It's like you're controlling your mind with your like mind and body work, right? So
exactly,
if you
exactly.
go, like, I'm not opposing to those who love to go to gym. That is good for them if they love. But when you go to gym, you don't focus. You might be listening to some music, or just loud music, and you are running on the treadmill. No, you are not focusing on your breathing, man. Like, you
Yeah,
need to
so important.
stop thinking, give some rest to your mind to perform well. So that's
Yeah,
why yoga
yeah,
and meditation play like a very good role when you have these kind of job where you have to think more rather than doing continuously something, right?
yeah.
So yeah,
That's so true.
it's
I
just piece
agree.
of advice.
Mindfulness is so important.
Definitely.
It's not all about
Yeah,
the big, heavy workouts.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, now we've done all of these things. You're where you are today. You've got a successful career. You're doing well. You're enjoying life. If you could go back to 20 years ago to yourself when you were 20 years ago and give
Okay.
your younger self two pieces of advice, what would you give yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
I wish that if I can go back 20 years back. So at that time, I was in school, like really like a school going person.
Yeah,
So I hope that I get this kind of insight which I had now, that to be successful, you need, like, it's a continuation. You can't escape, right?
yeah,
So I wish that I know these. I don't think so. It is possible, but yeah, I wish I could know, like, I had some insight of these things before, and like little before, when I
mm,
got to know, like, I got to know cybersecurity when I was in end of my college. So it was like really late, like not late, but
yeah.
yeah, little late, I should
So
say.
start earlier
So
would be the
yeah,
idea, right?
start earlier and keep learning. Like, it's some or the other thing. It's not just about cybersecurity. You can just learn any other language. I wish I could
Yeah.
have learned Dutch,
Yep.
because at that
Yep.
time I had time, right? I was not that busy. Like, I wasted some time in just just stupid things. So rather than doing that, learn. Watch one movie in a week, but do learn something. So
Yeah.
that is the
Yeah.
advice I think I want. I can't go back, but yeah,
Yeah.
I
Continuous
can give
learning.
you.
Start
Yeah,
early, continuous learning. And I think almost every guest I've had on the show has always said the same thing. The secret to being successful, continuous
exactly.
learning. And I think it's so important because as long as you're learning, as long as you're keeping on learning something new, no
New,
knowledge
yeah,
is
exactly.
lost. No knowledge is lost.
Exactly.
And you can use that knowledge for something, that could,
Yeah.
benefit the
Even
world.
true, true. Even if you learn, like, I learned yoga 2 years. I started yoga like I think 2 3 years back.
Okay.
I did something, but not regular. So I was like, okay, did for a few days, stopped, then again. So now, at least for 2 years, I'm doing continuously, like 3 times in a week, or in fact every day sometimes,
Yeah.
morning or evening, depending on the schedule. But yeah, if people just try to, sitting idle is not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
Rather just
Yeah.
go and try to learn some yoga posture. Not that, okay, try to learn some other language. Maybe you can enhance your own hobbies. If you like music, you can learn new instrument. That will
Yeah.
also give you
Yeah.
more. And so, irrespective of what you're interested, try to learn new every
Something
day.
new.
I think that
Yeah.
is the best
That's
thing
good.
one can do.
That's so good. And it's been a very interesting conversation. I didn't even notice the time go by, but it was great
Ah,
talking
me
to you,
neither.
Akansha. It was great talking to you. I'm sure we could do this on and on, but for the sake of our audience, let's wrap it up
Yeah,
here. Thank you so much for sharing your insights around, what you do, working in the EU. It's not very different for working in North America as well. We're
yeah,
all looking to keep security, keep the world a safer place, keep the bad guys out and the good guys in. So,
definitely.
any final words before we round this episode up?
Yeah, I think if everyone can motivate one or two person in their life, I think that is the best thing. One, because I want to motivate as much as people. I want to influence and help as much as I can to those who are seeking, who don't know what would be the first step. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is the thing which I want to do, and I appreciate all your efforts, because you are also trying to help people who want to make career in cybersecurity. So yeah, if I get opportunities like this, I think I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you so much. And with that, it's a wrap. Thank you so much, Akansha, for coming on again today. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in again to listen to this episode of the CyberSec Migrant podcast. I'm going to put a link to Akansha's LinkedIn profile in the comments below, so you can connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm sure she's open to, sharing her expertise. And she does write some great articles on LinkedIn as well. So if you want to learn a bit more about, application security or threat modeling, she's your go-to person to talk to. And until next time on another episode of the CyberSec Migrant, this has been Femi speaking to you, and I am signing out now. Take care.
Thank you so much.